Yeah, I just figured I'd show this real quick. So this engine runs kind of shitty, like it has a carburetor issue. But that's not what the issue is. The issue is right here. See this exhaust valve? So I could take my hand and turn it like that. That valve's not supposed to be able to move. So what happens over time, and I've noticed this on my snowblower engine that had a Tecumseh flathead. It had about 1,000 hours on it, a little over 1,000 hours commercial use. These exhaust valves, specifically the exhaust valve, which is right by the exhaust, over time it stretches. So what you have to do is you got to take this out, which means I have to take the gas tank off at least to get to the breather, to get to the end of that valve to release it. And then I can pull this valve out, and then on these flatheads, you find out what the spec is, you get a feeler gauge, and you take the end of the valve stem and you take it against a grinder, a bench grinder, and you grind the stem until there's enough clearance to where when you put that valve back in, it seals again. Also, while you're at it, you lap it back in to make sure it seals good. But this is top dead center, and I can turn this valve. So this valve is leaking its exhaust. So that's why it's not running right. And what's happening also, which made me realize it, was the muffler was glowing inside red. Anytime the muffler glows inside red like that, that means you have an exhaust leak. One of the valves isn't sealing, and it's normally the exhaust valve. The intake valve normally doesn't have a problem. I may take that one out too. I'll check the spec on that one when I have the breather open. But it's normally the exhaust valve because it's the extreme heat. It stretches over time and then it can't seal. So if that's what's causing this engine not to run right, to lose power, to stall, to want to run on partial choke, that's the problem right there. That has to seal. So take care of that probably tomorrow. I got it down this far, and then this thing will be running top notch again. These flathead engines don't need these valves adjusted as often as the overhead valves, which you just open the valve cover and you're able to make the adjustment and shut it. But thing is, this is only a 5 horsepower engine and it's powering a wood chipper, so it is taking a lot more abuse than if it was on something that wasn't, needing such demand of power. Really, these chippers should have at least an 8 horsepower engine, because I've had these chippers before with an 8 or a 10. 5 is a little bit underrated for these, although it gets the job done. Being in 1997, who knows how long that valve stretched, how long ago that valve had stretched before this thing was put out of service because of that reason. Because when they went to use the thing, it was losing power, stalling out, hard to start again, which is the issue I was having, although I did get the job done with it. I knew it was either the valves or the carburetor had crap, because on this style has 2 brass tubes that go down. A long one that sucks the fuel up from the bottom of the tank and draws it into a small bowl that's built into the tank, and then that's the smaller brass tube draws the fuel from the small bowl up into the carburetor. It's common for that bowl to get shit in it from ethanol and just gas going stale, and that causing problems too. And since I'm gonna have to take this off anyway, I'll be able to check and see, is there any garbage in there, and clean that out as well. But the main issue was the valve leak. 5 horsepower Briggs flathead. It's the 13 cubic inch 206cc. Don't see it often with these, but like I said, it's a flathead, and over time the valve does have to be adjusted. They are adjustable, but they have to be pulled out of there. I have the special valve removal tool that releases the tension off the spring, so the keeper pops out and pull the valve right out of there. Obviously now the overhead valves are far more common. Those need adjustment every like 100 hours or whatever it is. These need adjustment every 20, 30 years, depending on what it's on. That's the big difference. Okay, later guys.